hero. I care about what works. I care about what's funny. I care about you.
We've been through worse than this.
We have.
No.
Tony, good morning. Jeff in Las Vegas.
Hey, Jeff, how's it going?
It is going great, man. I am a huge I Love Lucy fan. The Lucy Show, Here's Lucy, Life with Lucy. I've read every book. I'm wearing my shirt today to commemorate the long trailer.
Oh, I love it.
And when I heard Aaron Sorkin was making this biopic of the show and Lucy and Desi and the rough years and all the behind the scenes, I was so excited. So you play Jess Oppenheimer, who plays the head writer and the executive producer. What did you learn about him and his role on the show?
Oh man, so much. I mean, like you, I was a massive, I Love Lucy was like the comic manual for if you want to be a comedian. Like, she was such a masterful performer. But this relationship, I play Jess Oppenheimer, who is the producer and head writer of the show. And I just learned, they had a radio play before doing I Love Lucy. They had a working relationship, and that's what became I Love Lucy. And that her and Desi were in such a fishbowl with that much attention. 60 million people were watching the show on a Monday night. And they had so much attention that is not healthy. That's very toxic. And that's a lot of drama behind the scenes. So my character really became a sounding board for her and an ear for her and kind of a confidant. And so I didn't know anything about that going in.
And he stood up to her too. He stood up to her and Desi when he felt he was right, because he was executive producer. He demanded respect. He demanded, respect for his decisions. And I love your character doing that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And it was one thing that Aaron Sorkin always gave us, which I really appreciated, was bringing us back, because everybody had an idea of I Love Lucy, but bringing us back to the humanity of the situation. I'm playing a character who my livelihood is the show. We're about to be canceled because she was about to be accused of being a communist. And just that anxiety and tension and having to confront them about things. And at the time, they wanted to do this episode on her being pregnant. You couldn't even say the word pregnant on television, which is crazy, but you couldn't do it. And they said, no, we're going to be real. We're going to do this episode. But my character was always really freaked out. And so, just those kind of scenes were really fun to play.
That's one of my favorite, trivia about I Love Lucy is the night when they premiered the episode of her having little Ricky, that during the commercial breaks, the water pressure in Manhattan went down. Yeah, because everyone went to the bathroom at the same time.
Yes, and it's also like finally, because it's life, and finally it was being portrayed on television the way it should be.
And, did Nicole and Javier stay in character? Was there method acting happening on the set?
There was, I think there had, not necessarily in personalities, but definitely in dialect, because I think they had to stay. She had that kind of New York, and Lucy's voice was much lower than Nicole, so she had to stay in that register. Javier was doing a Cuban dialect, and so they had to really stay in that range. And I also, you think about them playing such an iconic couple, that is like actor's fear factor. That is so daunting. So I would be doing the same thing.
All the books I've read over the decades about behind the scenes of the show and Desilu and everything, I have so much admiration for Desi Arnaz, because he is getting finally the spotlight, played by Javier Bardem in this, the respect that he deserves. He was a decision maker. He did everything too. Lucy too, let's not forget her. But he was a creative force behind this show. And I love how they showcase him and give him his proper respect.
Absolutely. He was incredibly forward thinking and took massive risks and just did them knowing that it was right and didn't care and kept walking when I think a lot of people would have backed down. And he said, no, we're doing it.
Tell me about the first time on set, because every detail of the Ricardos apartment reproduced, stunning accuracy. I've seen the show, all my whole life, and I've seen even the Chinese statue on the mantle. I'm like, what?
I know, man. And it was, like you, it was such a part of my childhood. So to walk on that set, because we as the actors, we're a slice of this pie. A lot of the pie, production design, costume, wardrobe, the detail they put into that set, to your point, everything was set. So it was very surreal walking into that set every day. Very surreal.
And living in Las Vegas, born and raised, Desi Arnaz Jr. has lived in Boulder City, right outside of Las Vegas, about 30 minutes. So he's been an active member in our state, in our community. So Lucy and Desi, have been involved with this as executive producer. So you'll have kind of like their approval as this is kind of like, this happened. So that's so important, I think.
Dude, it is so important because that doesn't always happen. Many times films happen, the families do not give the seal of approval. So to get their affirmation, that's massive. I mean, it's their parents, you know?
Absolutely. And, you know, I've even read a book about just between Fred and Ethel, you know, about William Frawley and Vivian Vance. Jake Evans is just even the high cinched pants and his little, you know, the tie that ate Fred Mertz, you know, he always had the tie tucked in. So, I mean, I was in hog heaven. Well, I was geeking out through this whole thing.
And let me tell you right now, no man looks good in high-waisted pants. Why? That's every day on set. I was like, why are we wearing this? I don't need this much fabric covering my gut. Like, this is just like the worst.
Yeah, but just every bit of trivia I've ever heard of and read was somehow fitted into this movie, and I just loved it. I really did. You were fantastic.
Oh, I'm so glad. Thanks,
I'm
man.
glad that the writers were getting their spotlight because they were just fantastic in this show too. So
absolutely, man, huge part of it.
So Tony, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks.
And, love the film. Loved you.
Thanks, dude.
You have a great holiday.
You too, man. Be safe. Be safe. Be safe.